Hey everyone! So right now I'm going to do a walkthrough of the rock, paper, scissors playgrounds. This is primarily for the Game of Apps Middle Years program students to help you out with your final project. But if you're not part of Game of Apps and you're watching this, you're welcome as well. You can probably learn lots, and if you had any questions, please post it down in the comments. And if you're interested in learning more about what Game of Apps is and you might want to join, you can also go to gameofapps.org. All right, so here we have the rock, paper, scissors playground. So as you can tell from the title, this is a game of rock, paper, scissors. So let's get started. So here it tells us that the normal game, rock, paper, scissors. So rock beats scissors, paper beats rock, and scissors beats paper. That's easy, right? But in this game, you can also define your own actions. So you have like yogi, surfer, climber, whatever you want, any emoji or any word that you want, you can use to define a different action. And then you can also define how those actions work. So let's get started. All right. So here it gives us a hint of what we can do to get started. So let's try this out. var game equals game, then game.play. All right. So if we wanted to learn more about variables, so what var is, just defines a variable. So if you wanted to learn more about that, it just tells you a variable lets you store information to use or modify wherever you want. All right, let's run our code and let's see how this works. All right, so I could select what I want. So this would be my opponent and this is me. So I'm going to select rock for this round. I go, and the computer player chooses paper, so I lost. So he's got 1 and I've got 0. Okay, let's go again. I stick with my rock. Oh, great. So I beat him. Let's see, I'm gonna go paper this time. Good choice. So now I'm at 2 and the computer is at 1. So let's go with scissors. Hopefully he picks paper. Ooh, so we're tied at 2. Okay, last round. Let's see who wins. Oh, it's a tie. The suspense. Okay, let's see. I win. All right, victory. Okay, great. Okay, so I can start a new game again, but let me just stop. All right, so it says having fun. So would it be even more fun if it was your own game? Yes, for sure. So let's learn how to do that. Next. Okay. So it tells us here that there are 2 places that we can put in code. Main, which is here, and my game, which is here. So why? It says, well, sometimes in coding you want to be able to access your code anywhere. So anything that you put in my game will be accessible from anywhere, from any file. Well, everything that I put in main will only be accessible to main. Okay, so it says here, the code in main is, the main file is only for that location, so no sharing allowed. So let's try it. Okay, look in my game, and we have this variable called game that's defined here, public var game. Because it is in my game, this tab here in this file, it has the word public in front of it, this word public. It means that I can use that variable anywhere from any page in this playground. So the word public means that you can share your variable everywhere, which makes it a global variable. Okay. So try it. Open main and add the following. Okay. So let's add this game.add opponent equals. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this here. Actually, here I can copy this whole line here. Then I'll just paste it here. All right. Then let's run this code. All right, we see that our opponent here now is a poop emoji, right? So what it's saying here is that your was that an orangutan? I thought it was a poop emoji. Anyway, did you know that you are using a global variable? So when I put game.addOpponent here in the main file, it's an example of accessing the global variable game. This variable game, I didn't define it here. It's actually defined in here. So I'm accessing that global variable. So we can add additional opponents here. All right, so I'm going to copy this. If I added this 3 more times, let's run this. So I've got 4 opponents. Each of them is this this poop emoji. Right? Now, I can change the emoji here to something else, right? So, all right, so I can make it this one, this. So if you're on a Mac, what I did was Control-Option-Space, and then it brings this up. Okay, on an iPad, on the keyboard itself, you can just bring up the emoji for that on the keyboard, and then you can type in different emojis. But on the Mac, again, it's Option-Command-Space. All right, so I've got 4 different emojis here. I can run my code. And yeah, so now my opponents have those 4 different emojis. All right. So let's go to the next step. Now what? Share and share alike. So peek in my game and find the SetupGame function. Okay, so this is the SetupGame function right here. This function also has the word public in front of it. What do you think this means? So does it mean that it's a global function that you can access from anywhere? It means it's a private function only to that file. Well, it's not private because it has the word public in it, right? So public means you can access it from anywhere. So I'll say that and confirm. And yes, absolutely. So in the same way that this public here says that this variable can be accessed anywhere, this keyword public here says that this function, SetupGame, can be accessed anywhere. All right, well done. So let's go to the next page. So now that we've got the hang of global functions and global variables, let's give it a try. Right, inside the SetupGame here, let's copy this code and let's put that in here inside the function myGame. Round price equals lollipop. Okay, so actually, I don't want to play with so many opponents. Let me just stop this. And I'm going to remove these 3 for now. And I'll comment it out by adding these 2 backslashes. All right, so let's run this code. All right, let's try to win this and get the lollipop. Ooh, I'm not doing well. I lost the first round. Okay, tie. Well, actually, the lollipop's already here, right? So the opponent has 2 lollipops and I still have 0 lollipops. Okay, so let's stop this. All right, so this code here, game.roundPrice equals, whatever I put here, that's what's going to show up in that space there. All right, so now let's create our own custom actions. Okay, so instead of rock, paper, scissors, we can use butterfly, all these other things here. So to create our own actions, we just do this. All right, so I'm going to copy this and paste it again here. All right, so we're creating a butterfly action. So this is a variable butterfly. It's an action and it's a butterfly. The butterfly emoji. A fairy is the fairy emoji. The mushroom is the mushroom emoji. Okay, let's run our code. All right, so I'll start with butterfly. All right, so butterfly against mushroom is a tie. I can select fairy, mushroom. Right, so those are my actions. So it shouldn't be a tie though, right? So, okay, butterfly versus butterfly tie, that makes sense. But butterfly versus fairy is also a tie. So it looks like our program is still missing a little bit of something. So let's stop this. All right. Now write the logic used to decide which action wins. Yeah, that's what we're missing, right? Okay, so let's do that. So actions, adding actions part 2. Now here comes the fun part. You get to decide which action wins or loses against another action. So for example, here we know that rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, paper beats rock. But you could also define something called a unicorn that beats everything. Right, so to do this, write your variable followed by a dot. Okay, so we've defined that we have 3 actions, butterfly, fairy, mushroom. So now we could say that butterfly beats fairy. And let's say that fairy beats mushroom and mushroom beats butterfly. All right, so that kind of makes sense. Let's run this. Now, you can also do other things. You can have butterfly beat both fairy and mushroom, right? But right now, let's say I wanted to do that. So if I wanted to say butterfly beats mushroom. So if butterfly beats mushroom, then it doesn't make sense for mushroom to beat butterfly. So I'll remove that and let's run this. All right, so I'm going to choose butterfly because I know butterfly beats both fairy and mushroom. Ooh, I win. All right. Well, it's a tie. Oh, it's another tie again. Ooh, I win again. So, what if I chose mushroom? Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense for me to choose mushroom because everything, both butterfly and fairy beats mushroom. So the best that I can hope for is a tie if the computer chooses mushroom. So you can see now that you have the ability to change the game mechanics by deciding what beats what. All right, great. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next. These 2 arrows here allows me to move back and forth between the pages. So now that I've finished this page, let's go to the next page. You can also make hidden actions that only your opponent can select. Okay, so let's try that out. Okay, so love. So I'm going to add another action here. var love action heart. And it's a hidden type. Because love is so strong, it should beat everything else. To make this happen, pass in an array, a list of actions to the beats function. So I can say, let me just copy this. I don't have to type it out. Love beats, and then I put this square brackets here, butterfly, fairy, and mushroom. Okay. So this line here basically says that love beats all 3. I could have also done this. Love beats butterfly, love beats fairy, love beats mushroom. So these 3 lines would have done the same thing as this one line. But of course, this one line is a lot shorter and less a type. So we just learned a new way to do this. So actually, I could have done this with these 2 lines as well. Right? Those 2 lines. What I'm going to do now is I'll go butterfly dot beats, and then instead of just having the round brackets, I'm going to put the square brackets and go fairy, comma, mushroom. Right? So if I do that, I don't need these 2 lines, so I'm just going to comment that out. Okay, so let's run this code. So I can select from butterfly, fairy, and mushroom, but I can't select love. But my opponent can select love. So that's not fair, is it? Because love beats everything. So So if you keep selecting love, I'm just going to lose. There's no way for me to win. All right. So now your game is starting to get interesting. Take a minute to perfect your game, change your actions, add more actions. So go ahead and try this. Try this out. You can debug by running your code and playing the game to make sure everything works as expected. If something doesn't work quite right, then it's up to you to fix it. So that's the thing with being a programmer. You get the fun of being able to change however it works, but then you're also responsible for your own code. So if your code doesn't work, then you've got to try to fix it. And there's many ways that you can introduce bugs. One is by typing things that don't make sense, All right. So the computer's not going to like that because it doesn't understand what that means. So that's called a syntax error. Another one is a logic error, right? So if I say that fairy beats mushroom and then mushroom also beats fairy, then that's a logic bug, right? Because the computer knows how to interpret this, but then your game may not work as you expected because this logically does not make sense, right? So those are just two different types of bugs, but there's many other types of bugs. So go ahead, try out different things in your game. And if it doesn't work, debug it. Okay, let's go next. All right, so here, change the way the game works by trying some of the experiments below. So you can add your code to the global function SetupGame, which is in here. Rounds to win. So you can change the number of rounds. So game.rounds to win. So by default, it was 3 rounds, right? But we can change that to 2, like this one says. So you can try that out. The round prize. So that's something that we already tried out earlier, right? When we had the lollipop. So here we can have an ice cream cone. Win round text. So instead of you win, you can put in your different text here when you win the round, right? So here, the win round text is a rainbow win rainbow. The lose round text. So instead of you lose, we can do something like a sad face. And then tie. So instead of just saying tie, we could have this, I don't know. And then for the challenger text, what's this? Can't really, it's just it's a man in a different pose like this. All right, so these are all called properties, right? So properties, the rounds to win, round prize, win round text, those are all properties of the game object. All right, so it has its own variables known as properties, and it changes the way the game works. So by changing these properties, you change the way the game works. Okay, so let's run my code and let's see. All right, so let's choose butterfly because it beats both fairy and mushroom. So see, I have one ice cream cone and I win, so it shows me this round text. Okay, let's see if we will lose this next one. I still win. And yeah, that's it, victory, because it's 2 rounds. And yeah. So we can go new game. Oh, this challenger graphic text, that's me. So this is me. All right. Do you recall how to change this? This is through the add opponent, right? So by default, it's this. But if I add opponent, like we had earlier with the poop emoji, then that's how you can change that as well. All right, you did them all. What an experimental coder you are. So give this a try. You can try different values here and play around and see what makes sense for your game. And then you can customize it that way. Then you can demo and you can discuss why you chose these values that you chose in your demo. Okay, let's go next. So here, a final question here. In addition to properties, you also use a few methods as well. Methods are what a type can do. They define its abilities. Okay, so an example of a method would be this, right? We're telling the butterfly that it can beat fairy and mushroom. Okay, see if you can pick out the methods you've used so far. So we've used this, We've used this, we've used this, we've used that. So actually we've used all of them. Oh, I got it mixed up. Because this one is actually not a method, right? So if you look at this, methods are all like functions. So they have these curly round braces past it, beside it. But these are properties, because you see they don't have the round brace, and we can assign values to them. So we can assign values to variables, but with methods we just call them, and they can have round braces like this. Okay, next, work on your victory animations. All right, so we've come a long way. Okay, what kind of victory would it be without a fun, sparkly winning animation? Okay, so teach me how. All right, so to create a win animation, first you have to know when a player wins. So we know that. It could be pretty awkward if you celebrate when you haven't won. Unfortunately, the game has a property called onVictory. This property stores a function that runs when a player wins a game. So all you have to do is create this onVictory. Okay, so let's add this code to SetupGame. Okay, now let's run the code. All right, let's see if we can win this. Don't choose heart. Okay, awesome. Because we know if the computer chooses heart, we're going to lose right away. Ooh, we're tied. Who's going to win? Yes, we won. Victory. Okay, there we go. So that was the animation. So what was the animation? It's a player graphic. So this is our graphic, right? The player's graphic. Move and fade. So we move from the current position to the point.0. So point.0, I think, is the center of the screen. And we want to fade it and want to do that in a duration of 3 seconds. All right, so that was the animation. And this function declares what to do, victorious. It does that. And we say that on victory, we're going to call the victorious function. All right, so you win coding skills, but does winning feel fun enough yet? Not even close. So there's a few more things that you can do to make it sparkle. So scene animations, right? So let's try this. You can create some effects that affect the entire scene. So let's copy this. So orbs, duration 7 in this color, confetti. So let's, and bubbles. All right, we can also scale the player avatar. Okay, so let's scale our avatar. And we can animate our avatar. So here we're telling our player, the graphic, to sparkle with a duration of 7 and with a color green. We can also pulsate with a period of 0.3 and a count 4. So let's try that out and let's see what happens. Oh, you see here we've got red dots here. That means that the computer doesn't understand this code. Now, why is that? Oh, because we're not supposed to put this in here. It tells us to put the code inside the victorious function. So actually all of these needs to go inside the victorious function. Because remember what we said, we only want to do the celebrate when we've won. So if I put them outside the victorious function, then it's going to be celebrating all the time. So anyway, I've moved them all here, and the red dots have gone away. All right, so let's try that out and see how that looks. Okay, let's try to win again. Okay, we're halfway there. Don't choose heart. Yes. Okay, there we go. See all the bubbles. See the confetti. And we've scaled our graphic to 3, so that's great. And our graphic was also supposed to be sparkling and pulsating, but we didn't see it because there were so many of these other things. Let's comment this out so I can see how that looks. Wait, I'm not ready to move on yet. So I remove these because I want to see the sparkle and the pulsate. Okay, tie. All right. So we're halfway there. Don't choose heart. Don't choose heart. Yes. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we see the sparkle, all the little sparkles there, and it was pulsating. It's growing big, small, big, small. All right. And then on top of that, you can add these things. So play around with your own game and see what you would like to add for these victorious scenes. Okay, so let's stop. Let's move on. So you build a fully custom game. You can keep tinkering with your game. If you want more examples, check out the sample game. Okay, here's a sample game. So you could look at this sample game. But we've got our own game as well. So we've got our own game here. So if you want to go back between my game and sample game, you can open this here, this show sidebar. So my game is here and the sample game is this one. So this is a sample game that you can also play around with. And then you have my game here. And then all the different levels that we've completed are all here. Okay. All right, so that's the walkthrough. Hopefully that helps out a lot. I'm sure on your own, maybe you've tried some of this already. But if there's something that you see here that you've missed in your game, then you can go back and try it. You still got time before the showcase. So yeah, try out all these things and then choose which ones you want to use for your game. And also choose how you want your game to look, how you want it to work, how you want it to look. And then I'm looking forward to your showcase as you demo this to the class. So again, if you're not with Game of Apps and you found this useful, please comment and like this video. And if you're interested, you're in high school or middle school, and you're interested in learning more about Game of Apps, check out our website, gameofapps.org. All right, that's it for today. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.